Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn how to make a very simple beaded pocket rosary. A pocket rosary is basically one decade up on top with the bottom portion to look like a rosary. We are making these for the 100th anniversary of our church, St. Anne's Church. So I'm adding a medal to these, but you can do them with just the crucifix if you choose. You'll see on the sample here on this version, I've used the blue for both the Our Father and Hail Mary beads. The clear beads are simply used as spacer beads to get the kind of the sizing to look appropriate on these. So with the supplies on these, we will be using the blue, these are the sapphire blue and the clear transparent beads from rosarymakingparts.com. Also from rosarymakingparts.com, I'm using the number 7 bonded nylon twine. They do also sell a number 9, which is thicker, but for this I would recommend the number 7 is a little bit thinner. I'm also using, like I said, because it's the anniversary of our church, we're adding the medal of St. Anne. If you're not familiar with St. Anne, she is our Blessed Mother Mary's mother, so Jesus' grandma. And then the Benedictine crucifix, the 1 1/4 inch. They sell various sizes and different styles. These are purchased from streetevangelization.com. And then my supplies that I also have ready, I have a lighter and a candle and some scissors, and I will show you how to make these. So we are starting, like I said, with the number 7 bonded twine. What I do is I dip one end, so I cut these at around 3 feet long for this model, and I dip one end in clear nail polish so that it's a little bit stiff so it doesn't fray, and I have the scissors in case it does. And then you're going to take the other end, and it doesn't matter exactly where you put the stopper knot, just somewhere along the last few inches. 3 feet should be really more than enough. You could probably get away with less than that, but we'll be generous. So I'm going to tie one knot in there, and then what I'm going to do is put a second knot right on top of it. And the reason for that is because one knot might not be enough to stop the beads, and you don't want them flying all over the floor. So nice and tight, second knot, like I said, anywhere along the bottom few inches is fine. And then we're going to go ahead and start making our sample. Now, you will notice on the sample that up on top here we have 10 blue beads total with clear beads in between and clear beads at the very far ends, which is a little bit different than some of the rosaries we've made in the past. So that means we are going to be starting with a clear bead. We'll start with our clear bead and we will be alternating clear, blue, clear, blue, clear, blue until we end up with a total of 10 blue, and making sure, like I said, that there are clear beads at the end of that. So I'll be feeding those through, just alternating clear, blue, and eventually you will get something that looks like this. So once again, 10 blue beads total. Please make sure to count, double count, triple count, because it's so easy to make mistakes. Making sure that you have a clear bead on each end. I can't stress that enough. That is different from before, okay? So we're going to go ahead and slide these down to the middle. Just take your two ends and put them together. And you can find your center point here. And so here you see we have 10 blue beads with clear beads on the end. So to bring the ends together, you're going to take these two strings, keep this nice and snug up here, and you're going to tie them together like you would tie a balloon, okay? So it's basically going right over the finger like that, and then you're going to push them through the hole together. Okay, so here's your knot, and here are your beads. You want to make sure to only leave maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch between the beads and the knot. There's a little bit, and just be very gentle and careful when you slide that. Like I said, this is probably the hardest part right here. So just take your time with that as you're putting your knot in place. Like I said, trying to make sure you don't leave too much space. You can see how much space is in there. It's about, I left probably about, that's about 1/2 inch, I would say. So you don't want that to be dropped down too far, because then the beads will slide too much. You can see how there's a little bit of slide in the bead, and that's okay. As people are praying, they kind of like that sometimes. So make sure that's nice and high. If it's not, you can go ahead and undo it and redo it. And then you're going to continue, not on the one with the knot. Okay, you don't have to worry about that one. We'll cut that off later. But on the other one that has the nail polish on it, we're going to continue with the bottom portion. And the bottom portion looks just like a rosary. We're going to start with the Our Father bead, which is blue, and then a clear. The 3 Hail Marys, no spacers in between the 3 Hail Marys, okay, but one more spacer here, one last Our Father, and then we'll add our bottom part. So once again, no, you don't start with the spacer, you start with the blue, okay, so we start with the blue, and then a clear as a spacer, one clear. We're going to do 3 Hail Marys, once again, no spacer in between these, and the reason we don't have as many spacers down here is because it would get really long and funny looking. Okay, after your 3 Hail Marys, one more clear, and then one more blue for the last Our Father. Okay, and once again, no clear one on the end. Okay, and then we're going to add our crucifix and our medal. If you are adding a medal to these, please make sure that the medal is facing in the same direction as the crucifix, so you don't end up with the crucifix facing one way and the medal facing the opposite direction. So you add your crucifix and your medal, and then what you do is you're basically going to take this end and lace it back up into the same beads. So you can do them one by one, and as you're doing them, they might look a little funky or wonky, and don't worry about it, because you'll see that once we lace it through all of these, that it pulls together very nicely. It all just comes together. So you can do them one by one, you can do them in twos, whatever works for you. If your cord is giving you a hard time and it's frayed, make sure you trim it so that it's nice and clean, otherwise it can be difficult. So see how it looks like this right now, but if you take your end that you just fed through and kind of hang on gently, don't pull these, because these little things will open up and then they'll fall off. But just hang on to these gently and take the string and very gently just pull the string. You'll see that it all just comes together nicely like that. All right, then what you're going to do is, once it's nice and snug up there, okay, take both of your strings here and you're going to tie a knot like you would tie a shoelace. Just a single knot, okay? So just tie a single knot and pull it nice and snug, and then you're going to do that one more time. So you're tying 2 knots. You can see that there. And make sure that those knots are nice and snug right there. Okay? Once you get to that point, we're going to be ready to cut and burn. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll cut it first. When you cut it, you want to leave, again, about, I would say about a ½ an inch maybe. A ¼ inch is probably not enough, and 3/4 to an inch is too much. So I would say just about a ½ an inch. And you'll see as you do these, as you go along, what feels like too much or not enough. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut that off on both ends. You need to make sure that that knot is nice and snug, and you may even want to continue like tightening it as you're doing this to make sure that it doesn't come apart. If it's too short, it will easily come apart. So you can see more or less how long each of those are. All right, and then you're going to go ahead and light your candle, especially if you're doing, you can use a lighter, but if you're doing a lot of these, I would recommend using a candle. When you burn it, it is going to burn very, very quickly, so be prepared to blow it out. And make sure that when you burn it, you kind of, go like this and get your fingers out of the way, because I can't tell you how many times I've burned myself. Even after you blow it out, it will remain hot for a little while, so please be careful not to burn yourself. So it is going to burn very quickly, and you want to make sure you also do not burn the bead. You don't burn the beads as well. So I don't know if you can see that, but it basically will almost like mushroom. This is why we have to leave a little extra, so that when it burns, it does kind of mushroom, and that mushroom, I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but that mushroom will act like a stopper, and so that way the cords don't come apart. And you can see that, and it may leave a little bit of a brownness on the end of the cord, and honestly, I don't know that there's a whole lot that you can do about that. But you'll see as they dry, they harden, and they operate as stoppers. So that is basically how you make a really super simple pocket rosary. And for those of you that have joined us for this project, I thank you sincerely. We'll have a lot of fun giving these away for the anniversary, and I hope you have fun making them.